instead of going to cast a ballot manually. So that saves a lot of time and effort. But all those issues you mentioned are there. So, for example, local governments don't have enough money. They produce a lot of GDP, but they don't get it back. So what we do, we introduce different types of sort of like resource taxes. So if there is solar panels, wind farms, any other ways of like producing value, then local governments start to get money back. That helps them, you know, to make peace with all those maybe not that nice ways of producing values. Like people don't like wind farms, but if they start earning money from that helps. But of course, the challenges you face are probably pretty common for all the countries in the world. People move to large cities. People don't live in the rural areas anymore, and it's really hard for the state governments to help those areas to, you know, be successful.
And in your own experience in Estonia, what did the government, in your view, did right to allow this adoption of technology and digitization to happen at a quick scale? You know, how did you get scale?
Yeah, it's a bit long story, but in short, we have this underlying infrastructure that is essential, because otherwise you have really a bunch of different fragmented services. We call it X-Road, and it's used by several countries. Finland, for example, is using our system, and India can do it as well. It's free. You just, you know, implement it, and all government services start to talk with each other using this system. We never ask for data twice. So if you once submit, for example, your home address, it's there. The other services don't ask for it. And another essential thing is that you have to use some sort of digital ID. So every citizen has to, you know, have something that helps him to log in into those services, and that's it. On top of that, you can build whatever, and it works. I know, you know, UK and partially New Zealand as well are really advanced in this. So that's important that you do those steps before you start building services, because otherwise it's gonna be a total mess.
Thank you, Mr. Korobenik. My next question is to Dasho Sangye Khandu from Bhutan. You know, Bhutan has a very strong tradition of community-centered governance and environmental protection. Local governments often play a very key role in maintaining this balance between development and environment. How can you explain how does in Bhutan local governments work closely with communities to protect the environment while also ensuring that development is not affected?
Thank you very much. It's all about the responsibility the individual takes. It's not about inside-out approach, but outside-in approach. See, in Bhutan, the Article 22 of the Constitution says the local government should remain all the time apolitical. And His Majesty the King has always stressed that the local government is the nearest government to the people. You see, the people works with the local government day in, day out. They are elected. So no matter whether you go digitized, whether you remain traditional ways of doing things, it's about the accountability. It's about how people can hold the leaders accountable. First thing is the notion that the people should have inculcated in their brain, in their blood, that the environment, socio-economic development, whatever, culture, whatever, is so important for us. So how do we maintain this? It boils down to, see, as an elected individual, it's very difficult to balance it. We're driven by so many interest groups. There are so many people approaching us with certain requests and all, so on and so forth. But ultimately, it boils down to the individual whether to really take a risk and face the people and be able to answer to the people. And people are not willing to really agree to the answer that is baseless. So it is about how we manage the things. Our people in Bhutan are responsible. There should be a self-policing. I think you understood me. A self-policing. No. Individuals are all police. They don't need another policeman to police them.
But so, what if a conflict happens? Sorry. But what if sometimes, as in life, if a conflict happens between development and communities, then how do you balance the two? Who decides and how does it work?
See, there are always a trade-off. So whenever we might have to compromise certain things to achieve something. We have to compromise one thing to achieve another sometime, if it is better. But if it is not doing good, we have to sacrifice it. We have to do it away. But we balance it in a way that, suppose like yesterday during my keynote address, I said, we are constructing so many farm roads all across the society. We want to make sure that all the houses are reached with at least the road access. We have a hydropower coming up, 20,000 megawatts. Of course, it's going to damage so much of trees and environment. But we are equally planting million trees to supplement it, to substitute it. But we are again planting the trees that are better than those trees that we have damaged already. So these are the things how we are balancing. And these are convincing. When we tell this thing to the people, people are really convinced. And people agree to it. And people cooperate. So there is no way out there that there is a controversy between the leader or the decision maker or the electorate. But there are sometimes we, as a leader, as a legislator, might have to take some stringent action, which may not, of course, immediately be absorbed within the people, but definitely people realize later on that this was the right thing that we have done. So these are certain things that, but this is a very difficult question. I think we need quite a lot of time to explain it. If you give me at least an hour, I think I'll be able to explain.
Thank you so much. I wish I had that time.
Because this is I'm talking out of like I was in the public service at the age of 16, and I'm now 50. So it has been almost 34 years of experience. I've seen the world in different perspectives. I've seen the level of development from zero to where we are today. So this is a very complicated question, and there will be so many questions in between, and there will be answers and answers and answers, of course, but we have maintained till today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a very good segue into my next panelist, Mr. Tangi Utikere from New Zealand. New Zealand's, just building on this, New Zealand's own governance framework includes mechanisms that ensure representation and participation of indigenous communities. How can local governance systems, in your experience, better include indigenous and local communities in decision making?
Namaste, tēnā koe, tēnā tātou katoa, kia orana. It's great to be here at NXT Summit 2026 in New Delhi. And New Zealand is a far way away. Our nearest neighbour is 3 hours by plane. So it means that we are somewhat situated somewhere in the world that might seem isolated to some, but it means that we value the relationship with our Indigenous community, with our Māori people, really, really well. The issues that you explained in your introduction are no different, actually, to the issues that we experience in Aotearoa, New Zealand. For us, it's around ensuring that local government works in partnership with central government, despite the healthy tension and otherwise tension that does exist from time to time as well. But when local government is able to focus on the well-beings of a community, and I agree with our colleague from Bhutan around the community and the collective, that's where you can see some real difference and some real change, focusing on outcomes now but also into the future around our social opportunities to ensure that our communities are housed, that they're safe, looking at economic opportunities around employment, ensuring that businesses are backed, Indigenous businesses are backed as well, focusing on the environment. And for us, you know, our Indigenous community, our Māori community, have a really strong and special historical link with the environment, with the world around them. And so ensuring that alongside that focus on that cultural sense of well-being as well. Cultural identity is extremely important to us as a nation, given where we are. And it means actually that at a community level, all decisions are local decisions. And so ensuring that we're able to do that in partnership, not just with central government, but with all the different communities of interest, is always very, very important. It's something that we have worked on for quite some time, and I have no doubt we'll continue to work in that space into the future.
But, Mr. Utikere, it's, you know, when as a nation you plan some big, the central government or the federal government plans some big initiatives, how does it build local community participation in it? Sometimes even it may go against the cultural preservation of these communities. So either it's building a road or building a big power plant or big infrastructure works that have the potential of disrupting local communities. How does that get reconciled in New Zealand?
Yeah, that's a real live point where in New Zealand there is a huge focus at the moment on the need to lift our game when it comes to national infrastructure. So roads, hospitals, looking at what the building's going to be like for the future. Now the easy option, of course, would be to just railroad a particular piece of infrastructure or kit right through an area without any consideration for the cultural heritage, the cultural value that exists. Now, the approach in New Zealand has been built up over generations, and a lot of the expertise is actually initiated in an oral sense, was passed down from generation to generation. So my take on that is it goes back again to the key value of relationships and how we value communities of interest, and ensuring that when we work through a process that we don't fast-track things, we don't rush through things. Things need to happen. They need to be timely. It's not saying that things need to, you need to apply the brakes on everything all the time. But you do need to take the time to ensure that everyone understands what it is what's sought to be achieved here. And at the end of the day, if you're able to do that in a process, then it ensures that everyone's on board, that you are able to end up with a project that is, unique and special. If I can think of an infrastructure piece of kit in my own area in Palmerston North, where it's just a highway that was proposed, but working with local iwi, with the local Indigenous community, we ended up with a far superior piece of road experience that is something that's pretty spectacular. So it is fundamentally about partnerships and understanding.
Thank you very much. My next question is to Dr. Martin Daly from Ireland. Sir, in Ireland, local governments also play a very important role in supporting the regional economic development. How do you think local governments, from your own experience, contribute to economic growth and a balanced regional development? And what role can they play proactively in shaping outcomes of not just communities, but in sync of that of the entire nation? What has been your experience in Ireland?
Ireland has a particular experience in that Dublin is our maiden capital city and it dominates the country. 1.5 million of the people live there out of a population of 5 million people. Our west coast is very undeveloped. I just want to go back to a principle here. This goes to the heart of democracy, involving people at local level in decision making. And there's a natural tension between central government and local government, and it goes in cycles. So we inherited a very centralised system when we gained independence 100 years ago from the British, and some of that culture is still there, that centralisation, and we've tried to break away from it. And of course, there was more decision-making at local level 20 years ago. A number of planning scandals happened, and central government took that back or divested it to non-elected officials who are local, and our elected officials have less say in what's going on. Also, the creation of, for example, water utilities board and an electricity board, which are unelected and not answerable to elected officials except at national level. And that is a real difficulty. We've also relied on the European Union to encourage regionalisation and subsidiarity in terms of investing in regions, and we've gained a lot from that. But coming back to that, for example, for a country of 5 million people, we have a 2% population growth year on year, a big growth in our economy, not enough housing, not enough water and wastewater infrastructure, not enough electricity infrastructure. We're about to spend 7.5 billion euros on wastewater treatment plants for that population in the next 5 years, 13.5 billion euros on our electricity network. But the problem is we have difficulties delivering that infrastructure quickly. So there's a reform of our planning laws going on at the moment. There's also a reform of critical infrastructure delivery happening at government level. But I have to say, we do need to get back where we give locally elected officials more say in what's going on locally, because that disconnect is not just an Irish issue, it's an issue internationally, where people feel disconnected from the political system. Many working people feel underrepresented, and then that allows a vacuum at the extremes for people who come in and give simplistic solutions for what are complex problems. So we really do need to involve and empower people locally to be involved in that decision-making. And in order to do that, you've got to give them the funding to do that, the budgets to do that. But we have an issue in Ireland at the moment where we have unelected quangos delivering major utilities which are unanswerable to elected politicians like myself. And politicians did that to themselves maybe 20 years ago because of particular delivery issues. And I think we need to go back to empowering local politicians, empowering local people. We have a very good local electoral system to our local authorities, and it is easy to get on a ballot paper to get elected, but we need to give real power to local politicians. And I think that disconnect we have to address. It's not just an Irish issue. It's an emerging issue where people feel disconnected from politics, don't feel represented, and that creates a vacuum for political extremes.
Thank you. You mentioned very interestingly that, you also, like us in India, inherited a system from the British, which was over-centralized because it had only one objective of revenue extraction, right?
Control.
So, so how did in your own experience in Ireland, if you could help, if you can think of one or two big things that you were able to do to sort of reverse that. One, of course, happens through democracy, and but any specific actions that Ireland took over the last, 75 or 880 years?
I would say this about our politics. It's very local. I'm a national politician, but I do 2 or 3 local clinics every week where I sit in my constituency and people come in with all sorts of problems, seeking health services, housing, seeking access to special additional educational needs, looking for the rights for people who are living, say, with a disability. So I feel very connected. I'm a GP. I live in my constituency, and so I'm very easily accessible. And I think that is one of the strengths of our politics in Ireland, is that most of our national politicians live in their communities, are elected out of their communities, and are connected to their communities. And that's extremely important, and that doesn't happen in every jurisdiction. So I think that's I need to emphasize that strength. But on the other side of it, I do feel that we have politicians have divested themselves of accountability for major things like housing, infrastructural development like wastewater treatment, electricity and energy, and we need to get back to being accountable, but also then empowering local politicians, because you can't be accountable unless you've been empowered to make the decision in the first place.
Thank you. Thank you. And then I will come to my final panelist, Honorable Arjuna Sujiva from Sri Lanka. Sir, like India, Sri Lanka and many other developing countries face this challenge of local governments, again, depending heavily on national grants. You know, a mismatch between their generation of revenue and yet no fiscal autonomy. How do you think, from Sri Lanka's experience, local governments can strengthen their own revenue sources and become more financially sustainable?
Well, I think they have to be innovative. Basically, it's the local government, they manage the streets, wastage, public health. So from birth to your death, the basics are handled by the local government. But as you say, we don't have a system for the local government to be progressive, and they don't work much on development. So they have to think out of the box. So being a leader of a constituency, and what I would always tell them is to be innovative. For them to find their own methods of doing business, to make it to the private sector, and as much as possible, because the system doesn't allow them to get any other grants from the government. It's a basic limitation that they have. So they have to think out of the box, and fiscally, I don't know whether we are allowed to do that, but we have to think of new innovations, how they can get involved in the development process, so they can get some money out of that as well. Especially one area that they could concentrate, actually, waste management. We started in certain areas to collect the waste and manufacture electricity out of it. So, but that even those income goes to the central government. So it's not allocated to the local government. So they find it difficult to get out of their comfort zone. But we have to think of innovative ways to do that. It's not easy.
Thank you very much. You know, I'm conscious of the time, so I want to give each of my panelists 1 minute each before we wind up. But I want to open a question to you all. And particularly from us, from Indian context, you've come all the way to India. And, you know, for India, it's very important to learn from your experiences. You know, India, today we have a population of about 1.4 billion people. We have add in about 3,000 plus, or maybe 3,500 public representatives between the federal and the state governments. But we have a bureaucracy of about 30 million people, right? So we have a big challenge with local governance, because as the democracy wants to push local governments, we have to deliver to 1.4 billion people, but there is a mismatch between 3,000 people and a 30 million structure that supports it. I'd be very interested, and give you all 1 minute each, from your perspective, and I know each country is different, what do you think, from your country, there's that one unique example that could be of relevance, that you think you could be very proud of in terms of the local governance that you have been able to achieve in them? So may I start with the panelists at the extreme left, and we'll just go one by one.
From the Constitution, if I read, it is to facilitate the direct participation of the people in the development and management of their own social, economic, and environmental well-being. First thing. That's the very important thing. Okay, now the notion of having the local government separately is something very big. But we need to give a financial independence. But at the same time, I should be very proud of saying that in our society, our people are so responsible. They can we have given the government, the central government have given the financial independence to the local government. But it is, again, the people who should hold the leader accountable and make the leader make use of the funds allocated for them to the optimum utility for the benefit of the people. So I think it boils down to what sort of leaders, local leaders, they are going to elect and to what extent they can hold accountable. So I think that it boils down to the same thing again.
Thank you.
That's my final say.
Arun Sujay.
So I would say while maintain the parameters of efficiency, good governance, accountability, I think you must give them autonomy for the local government to grow, for them to get into business, to privatize, and set up laws so they can be financially self-sufficient. I would not always think that the central government should always pump money. So the local governments would be, they'll have the autonomy to decide for themselves, and for them also to make sure that they also have a system to make some money and be more self-sufficient. And that's what I would think, because the basics are quite in place at the moment. So you have to think, I think, far ahead how they can improve the other areas in the constituency.
Dr. Martin Daly.
I suppose there's this tension about public service and private service and productivity. I think sometimes there's a sense amongst the public that public service is less productive than the private sector. Now, they're different creatures, but we must ensure that if we invest in our local government, that it must be productive. So we need to use digitalization, AI, and that to improve efficiency. But we need to do that. One of our big organisations, our health organisations that run our public health services, has had an increase over the last 5 years, because the economy's been doing well, of 45% in personnel, and yet we've invested as a government very heavily in AI and digitalisation. We're not seeing the productivity, and that's the challenge, because then local government falls into disrepute. So if we're going to invest money, it's got to be into efficient, representative local government, but we have to see returns for that investment, and it must be efficient and it must deliver for people in local areas.
Thank you.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the future is that central government can help local governments to help people directly. So currently in Estonia it's pretty easy to get online services, but what we are missing is that when someone is getting issues, like maybe is running out of money, have trouble with education and so on, in the future local government can actually prevent this by offering help in advance when things are still okay but are going south. Then local government could intervene using AI instruments. Now it's not there, but I think it's like 2 or 3 years in the future. And the second thing is certainly trust. People actually have to feel that the local government is there. We try to achieve that with different direct democracy instruments. People can easily make petitions to the local government. We need 1% of signatures, and that happens online. So we have a lot of initiatives coming from people to the local city councils using this. And we also have participatory budgets where people can offer ideas, and those ideas that win by the population vote, they are funded with the local government budgets. It helps people to understand that they are actually part of the process, and it works. So if you vote for, I don't know, local whatever school extension, and it's there in a couple of years, then you feel that it's your thing. The local government works for you, and I think the trust is the most important factor in the nowadays world, because people sometimes feel that local government and central government are really far away.
Thank you.
And I think for us it's also about that sense of transparency, and certainly using online digital AI platforms is a huge part of that. But fundamentally, I also think it's about ensuring that local government and central government don't see each other as competitors, but work together. There seems to be often a lot of blame that goes on between local and central government. The people that lose at the end of the day are the communities that we're all elected to serve.
Thank you. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for such a lovely panel, and thank you for your time. It was lovely to have you on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of you who were discussing, of course, the future of local governance there in that panel discussion. All right, a quick photo op, and then we will move on to our first keynote address of the day. We are, of course, continuing this segment on Next in People. We are, of course, switching that a bit. We're now going to be talking about Next in Civilization. And in this segment of Next in Civilization, to give an address on the Gelufu model, we have with us Senior Communications Officer of Gelufu Mindfulness City Authority from Bhutan. In fact, Sherub Dorji is with us. Sherub Dorji, many thanks for joining us. Let's have a round of applause, please, for our next speaker at NXT 2026.
I'll be honest, if I knew my picture would be put up on the screen like that, I would have sent a better picture. Dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to convey the warm greetings and best wishes of His Majesty King Jigme of Bhutan. Good morning, Kuzampolo, everyone. I want to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to present a special project emanating from the Himalayas. Gelufu Mindfulness City is GMC in short, is a royal vision of His Majesty King Jigme Gesar Namgyal Wangchuck of Bhutan and conceived under the direct leadership of His Majesty the King. So in the course of my presentation, I will I hope to convey at least what GMC stands for, and more importantly, the tremendous opportunities it holds. Before I dive into what GMC is, perhaps I want to take a minute to talk about my country, Bhutan. Okay, so this is what we tell people, foreigners, and this is how foreigners see Bhutan. Young, handsome king, beautiful queen, tradition, culture, landscape, and all of it. Bhutan's image and reputation is very much steeped in our history, in our culture and heritage. Bhutan is basically a cultural hub. We are one in 10 countries which has never been colonized in the world, and it is also home to gross national happiness. It is our socio-economic development philosophy where we prioritize happiness over gross domestic product for our people, and it remains as one of the world's most pristine biodiversity hotspots. But this is where GMC comes in. This is where we tell the world that Bhutan is young and bold and dynamic, innovative, entrepreneurial, and this is where the story of Gelufu Mindfulness City comes in. As you can see, Bhutan is strategically located in the center of a large land economic corridor connecting the Middle East, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. Now, if you calculate the population in this area, India, China, and the Indian subcontinent, the population comes to around 3.3 billion people, which translates to 45% of the global population. So, GMC's, the Gelufu Mindfulness City's catchment area is almost half of the world's population, and we want to leverage this geographic and economic opportunities that we foresee for this region. And we want to attract investors, we want to attract businesses, and we want to attract people to live in GMC, be residents of GMC, while preserving Bhutan's unique assets. So, see, in an ever-changing world underpinned by geographical uncertainty, technology and economic progress, climate change, and all other macro challenges, Bhutan as a country now stands at an inflection point. So for a small country like Bhutan to survive, His Majesty King Jigme realizes that we must harness our strengths and demonstrate the boldness and dynamic spirit to ensure we create new economic pathways. And this is where GMC comes in. This realization resulted in this novel, radical, innovative plan in Gelfu Mindfulness City. It's a special administrative region that we have created. Now, how do we go about doing this? We go about doing this through the Diamond Strategy, as envisioned by His Majesty the King. The vision allows for a one country, two systems model through the establishment of, like I said earlier, special administrative region. So what happens is, for the first 20 years, Bhutan and GMC will develop independently with GMC having a distinct governance framework. And 20 years after the first 20 years, the convergence begins where GMC will gradually reintegrate with the rest of Bhutan, culminating in this unified national system, one country with one system. So what happens is this allows GMC to be catalyst for reform, and ensures Bhutan modernizes in a structured manner, while safeguarding our values and our traditions. Like I said earlier, GMC is a special administrative region. What that allows is it makes us a highly autonomous region where we are equipped with unique sovereign instruments. GMC authority will have legislative, executive, and judicial powers to customize policies that foster a highly competitive business environment at the Gelfu Mindfulness City. Now, what a special administrative region entails, what this legislative, executive, and judiciary autonomy entails, is that it gives us it means that the Prime Minister of Bhutan, for that matter, the Parliament of Bhutan, the judiciary of Bhutan will not have any say in how things are done, how regulations are set, how works are being done in Gelfu Mindfulness City. So now, as you can see, GMC has adopted Singaporean common law for its corporate, commercial, and company governance matters, and the Abu Dhabi global market regulations for its financial services matters. What that allows is it provides investors familiarity, confidence, and assurance, and this business environment that is known throughout the world. So at GMC, we want to be fast, we want to be dynamic, we want to be entrepreneurial, and enact all these progressive policies, progressive legislation, processes, and systems. Think of GMC as this ultimate sandbox where, as an ultimate sandbox, as an economic engine, a launchpad, and this vibrant gateway for the world to engage with South Asia and vice versa. As for those of you all who are familiar with the geography of Bhutan, Gelfu Mindfulness City currently sits in the south-central part of the country. We are currently at 2,600 square kilometer demarcation, but we are going to over 4,000 square kilometers, which roughly is 5 times the size of Singapore. It is, as I said, situated in the southern foothills of Bhutan. We have started construction of an international airport, which is expected to be complete by December 2029. The airport is being built by Changi Group, from Singapore, one of the best airports in the world, and one of our co-CEOs, Mr. Lee, was the CEO of Changi Group, Changi Airport for 10 years, so he is personally involved in the construction of the airport. And we're also connecting the nearest Indian city railway of Kokrajhar with a railway link to Galliford. The government of India has been kind enough to set aside 40 billion rupees to construct the railway link between the two cities as well. And as Bhutan transforms and as Bhutan develops, we plan to invest to build over 25,000 megawatts of hydro, solar, geothermal, wind, and other renewable sources of energy. Now, to the economic engine behind the Galliford Mindfulness City, we are focusing on 8 core industries, which are spirituality, health and wellness, education and knowledge, agri-tech and forestry. Then we have green energy and tech industries. Then we have finance and digital assets, and aviation and logistics. So in the interest of time, I will focus on finance and digital assets and aviations and logistics. So at GMC, we want to be a leader in financial and digital assets, including the crypto industry, including the digital banking systems, innovation, and we want to integrate these banking systems, digital banking system across crypto markets and real-world asset tokenization. For example, we have already launched a gold digital token known as TER. TER in Bhutanese directly translates to treasure. So you can go to the website of TER and already start buying fractionalized gold as gold token, which is backed by physical gold. I can see the time is up, but I'll just quickly take a few more minutes. And finally, the Galliford International Airport is also a transformative vision, transformative project which is central to the Galliford Mindfulness City vision. The airport has already won 2 international awards, the Wholesome Foundation Awards, which recognized Galliford International Airport design for its sustainable design and construction. It has also won the Future Project of the Year award at the World Architecture Festival last year. So we've already bagged 2 prestigious awards. And if you look at the picture, the airport will feature glue lamp timber technology with modular structure so that we can easily add on or remove the structures as and when needed. The rooftop of the airport will be fitted with solar power so that we minimize our carbon footprint. Basically, the airport itself aligns with GMC's and Bhutan's commitment to remain carbon negative and set this new benchmark for eco-friendly aviation infrastructure, the practice that we are starting to see globally. The airport is not just functioning, it's not just for landing and taking off and taking a plane and go to someplace else. It is deeply spiritual. Galliford Mindfulness City's international airport will be deeply spiritual. It will weave traditional Bhutanese arts, carpentry, carving, painting, and weaving. All of these things will be integrated throughout the airport structure. It will have spaces for yoga, for meditation, for sound healing exercises to create this meaningful, mindfulness-driven travel experience, which is truly unique to Bhutan. And the design itself ensures that every traveler feel immersed in Bhutanese culture right from the moment they arrive until the moment that they leave Bhutan. Now, this is one picture that we took during the construction of the Galliford International Airport. When the airport construction was announced, His Majesty the King told the Bhutanese citizen that he himself will come and work at the airport, not just work, but he'll also bring his wife, the Queen. He'll also bring over his children, the prince and princesses, to work at the airport. And this is exactly what we saw. And just recently, in February, His Majesty brought along all the royal family to contribute voluntary manual work at the airport to work together with the people of Bhutan. Like I said, the airport will be completed in December 2029. These are some of the pictures of His Majesty, the King and the royal family engaging in voluntary manual work contribution at the airport construction site. And they really came down to the airport construction site to really work, not just for photo op opportunities. And the city will seamlessly integrate all the urban spaces with nature and wildlife. We have also identified biological corridors for the Asian elephants to some of the areas in the city landscape, city infrastructure itself has been identified as biological corridors for the elephants. Part of the biological corridor is we're also now making watering holes, salt-licking areas for the wildlife so that we coexist with nature as the city expands. And you can also see the design of the city will ensure that it embodies Bhutanese values, mindfulness, and futuristic design. Right, that is it. When the airport opens in December 2029, I invite you all to be on the first planes to land in Gelufo International Airport. I invite all of you to explore investment opportunities in GMC, to come live in GMC, and to come work in GMC. I invite you all to connect with us, to connect GMC to people in your network who would like to know about and invest in GMC, to let your contacts in people or in the media houses back in your home country to know more about GMC and write about GMC. And I invite you all to come visit GMC now and be an early witness to a new, sustainable, and mindfulness city that is being built. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening. Kadin Shela.
Thank you so much, Sherub Dorji, for your presentation there, and of course, invite as well to our NXT Summit attendees. Okay, let's switch our focus now to India, Australia once again. For next in India, Australia, we have now with us the representative of Australia in India, the High Commissioner himself, for a keynote address, His Excellency Philip Green. OM, could I please have you on stage, High Commissioner of Australia to India. Let's welcome him with a round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, thank you. Good morning, namaskar. Distinguished guests, dear friends, it's a great pleasure to be here on this key podium. Let me start with a simple proposition. You don't need to be a security policy expert to know that our contemporary world is sharper and more contested. More people are displaced. More people are hungry, and there is more conflict, not least the perilous situation in the Middle East, on top of an illegal and immoral war waged by Russia in Ukraine. We live in a rapidly changing world, a world where the major powers more frequently flex their muscles through military action, economic coercion, and cyber attack. Relatedly, we are experiencing an increasingly challenged world order. The change in the landscape is permanent. The disruption, the contest is permanent. In these uncertain times, reliability is a virtue. No longer is reliability a given. Reliability achieves a greater salience in a world that is disrupted. And it's on the subject of reliability that I want to speak to you today. I've been a diplomat for 40 years. During that time, I would have identified a number of characteristics of Australian diplomacy: active, problem-solving, creative, innovative. And Australian diplomacy still is these things. But in a different global context, being reliable is a virtue, and a more salient one. It's a virtue that has implications for all our important partners, for those closest to us, our family in the Southwest Pacific, for our partners in Southeast Asia, where respect for the rule of law has never been important, and our shared economic security and our prosperity, and for India, which has more regional and global agency than many of our other partners, but which also, I confidently identify, values reliability in its partners. India is a leading power in the region and the world, and Australia is a proud middle power. The world we want today, and the world that we want to inherit, to our children to inherit, is not only a matter for the great powers. Middle powers must be active and exercise their agency to secure a strategic balance, even as the majors more often and more intensively express their influence. We want a region of balance, a region where no country dominates and no country is dominated. Against this background, the Australia-India partnership has never been more consequential. Nor has the Australia-India partnership ever been in such good shape to engage in constructive regional diplomacy. To put it simply, no other Australian foreign partnership has come so far and so fast as Australia's relationship with India has over the past 5 years. That's not happened by accident. There are three key drivers that impel our partnership. One, our increasing strategic alignment, the convergence of our security interests and actions. Two, our economic complementarity, which has been potentiated as both countries seek greater diversification and as India pursues greater economic openness. And three, the human dimension of our partnership that has more salience now as the Indian population of Australia tops 1 million. But despite these tailwinds, as the tectonic plates shift, we cannot afford to stand easy. In these uncertain times, we need to work even more closely together. We need to sweat these three drivers and make them work harder for us. Allow me to explore these three drivers of our relationship in turn and demonstrate how we can use them to greater strategic benefit. First, our strategic convergence. The Indo-Pacific, our region where both India and Australia reside, is the world's future. It's where the world is being shaped, and it's where we have most on the line. It's also where we can have most effect. Our relationship is crucial for the region. In fact, I'd go as far to say as that we have an overriding responsibility as middle powers to support peace, stability, and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific. We can help build a region we want, a region in balance, where sovereignty is respected. Australia and India are using all the tools at our disposal to do so, working bilaterally, through the Quad and other minilaterals, and through regional institutions. We have increased our security and intelligence cooperation. Just looking at defence, the frequency of our military exercises has tripled over the past 10 years. India is now one of our very few top-tier defence partners. Through the Quad, we are supporting maritime domain awareness in the region and building our capability to respond to regional challenges. And our Prime Ministers have challenged us to produce a maritime security roadmap bilaterally to advance our maritime cooperation. Australia and India have many interests in common, but where our interests most intersect is where our geographies overlap, notably in the northeast Indian Ocean, where there is a lot of air and sea to monitor in this vital economic highway, and we can do that best if we work together. The second driver of our partnership is our economic complementarity. As some states weaponise trade and undermine supply chains, our work together to support economic security must continue to strengthen. For the past 8 decades, the world has relied on the architecture like the WTO, trade agreements, and the rules-based order to underpin growth. But these institutions and norms we worked so hard to build are being questioned, and the rules we wrote are being challenged. Australia is a medium-sized open economy. We rely on being able to send our produce, resources and human capital to the world. Our response to these challenges has been to double down on our trading networks, not to resile from them. We are fortunate to have already strong connections via our 19 free trade agreements with 31 partners covering 80% of our two-way trade. But there's more work to do, including with India. Our Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement, ECTA, which was signed 4 years ago between Australia and India, is driving economic growth. ECTA is saving hundreds of millions of dollars in tariffs for Australian and Indian businesses. And the 1st of January this year represented a landmark in our trade relations. From that day, 100% of Indian goods enter Australia completely duty-free. No asterisk, no fine print. Everything produced by India enters Australia with a zero tariff cost. That you can rely on. We both benefit from trade liberalisation. For Australia, if you take out lumpy items like coal, our exports to India have risen by around 90% since ECTA came in force just 3 years ago. And India is benefiting. Think about this. Over the past 5 years, India's exports to the world have grown by more than 40%. Sounds good, right? But in that same period, over the last 5 years, India's exports to Australia have grown by 200%. That means that India's exports to Australia are growing 5 times faster than India's exports to the rest of the world. But given the scale of the opportunity presented by our economic complementarity, there is much more we can do. That's why we are now negotiating to upgrade ECTA to a comprehensive economic cooperation agreement. There are many ways in which they can benefit us both, but let me just highlight one. India is on track to become a green manufacturing powerhouse, from batteries to solar and the wider clean tech ecosystem. But that relies on minerals and metals that Australia has in abundance. Australia is the world's largest lithium producer, with the second largest reserves in the world of nickel, copper and cobalt. We are uniquely positioned to support India's transition. Let's take copper in particular. Australia's high-quality copper concentrate can power India's accelerating growth in EVs, renewables, manufacturing and infrastructure. But at present, copper products from Australia face tariffs of between 2.5% and 10% on entering India. That's the sort of drag on our new economy that we can ill afford. The third and final driver behind our reliable partnership is what our Prime Ministers call the living bridge, the more than 1 million people of Indian origin who now call Australia home. For Australia, our domestic resilience, including our economic strength and our multicultural democracy, contributes as much as our diplomatic efforts and our military capability to our national strength. Modern Australia is multicultural Australia. They're the same thing. At a time of increasing global uncertainty, we need to protect and strengthen social cohesion as we navigate divergent views. Diversity strengthens us at home. That's why we're delighted to have people of Indian origin who are making Australia a richer and more diverse place. Let's look at the economic relationship and how that benefits us both. Australia is pleased to have over 140,000 Indian students in our tertiary institutions this year. That builds friendship, long-term connections. It's good for Australia, it's good for India. But education shouldn't be a one-way street. And that's why Australia has led the world in responding to India's invitation for high-quality foreign universities to establish branch campuses here in India. 2 Australian universities, Deakin and Wollongong, were the first 2 to set up world-quality campuses in India, with another 5, that will be 7 in total, committed to opening campuses in India. That's more than any of India's other partners are offering. So, across the strategic, the economic, and the human domains, in these uncertain times, reliability is a virtue. More than ever, it's a virtue we should prize, something that's increasingly rare in this contested world. Whether that's in our work in the Indo-Pacific, supporting our shared economic security, or nurturing the connections between our people that make us stronger. In the face of all the challenges that we face today, I'm optimistic that Australia and India, working closer together, can protect each other's security and economic prosperity and make benefit for the region and the world. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, High Commissioner, for that address. And now let's quickly, of course, move on to our next segment, where we're going to be talking about the hospitality industry. For next in hospitality, we have a power-packed panel with us, and to discuss the theme of IHCL, of course, one of the pioneers in the space in India. From aspiration to acceleration, IHCL. To discuss this, we're joined, in fact, by the CEO of Taj Hotel, Resorts and Palaces, Mr. Puneet Chhatwal. Could we please have you on stage? CEO, Taj Hotels, Resorts and Palaces. Thank you very much, Mr. Chhatwal, for being with us. Also with us is CEO, BW Communities, Mr. Bhuvnesh Khanna. Welcome to NXT 2026. And this session is going to be moderated by Senior Executive Editor of NewsX, Megha Sharma. Megha, I invite you on stage as well, and hand the floor over to you. Let's keep the applause going, ladies and gentlemen.
A very good morning to you all, ladies and gentlemen, in what a special August company I'm in. I'm being joined by Mr. Puneet Chhatwal, the CEO of IHCL. There is no introduction that is needed, but I also have with me Mr. Bhuvnesh Khanna, CEO, BW Communities. You know, Bhuvnesh, let's start with a few words and then go on with our fireside chat.
First of all, Puneet is the Managing Director of IHCL, which is the owner of the Taj brand and all that comes with it. But Megha, thank you for having us over here. Thank you to Aishwarya, Kartikeya, Rishabh. You know, doing this session is extremely special for an industry which is going places. For those of you who've not tracked the Indian hospitality industry, I would urge everybody to look at it as a serious career, because this is where you look at places which you can never imagine and meet people you can never imagine. And Indian hospitality has yet to start in true earnest, and the beginnings have already been shown by the man who's sitting to my right, Puneet Chhatwal. He's India's biggest hospitality export, and he's come back. And come back how? Puneet, thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, good morning. When I started writing the script, it was evening. Few leaders in global hospitality have managed to honor the legacy while simultaneously re-engineering the future of the company and the economy. When Puneet Chatwal took charge of the Indian Hotels Company, a Tata enterprise, in 2017, the organization already possessed a power brand, Taj Hotels. But what we have witnessed since then has been nothing short of strategic renaissance. I call it strategic renaissance from where it's in under 9 years. I think Puneet joined in the November of 2017, Puneet. IHCL has strengthened its balance sheet, sharpened its brand architecture, embraced an asset-light growth strategy, and built one of the most dynamic pipelines in the industry, which he shall speak about. From heritage and luxury of Taj to the reinvention of Ginger Hotels, IHCL today represents the full spectrum of Indian hospitality, combining Indian heritage, global excellence, and sustainable growth. Many would say that if Indian hospitality today is flying higher than ever, IHCL has become one of the power engines that has led to its ascent. And I'll speak about the ascent in terms of engines of growth in a bit. But for now, let me welcome Puneet Chatwal. Welcome to the show, Puneet. Megha, the first one goes to you.
Yeah, the first one goes to me, and of course, you know, the turnaround story.
But the segment we begin with is, of course, called...
That has been, you know, historic. 2017 to 2026, how did you go about taking this challenging task at hand and delivering time after time after time?
Well, thank you, Megha and Bhuvnesh. I think it's three simple words I would say that describe our journey. The number one is belief. That belief came with the product we had, almost 120 years of, or 115 at that time, of legacy, as the word used by Bhuvnesh. So there was an inherent belief that this is what your roadmap should be. And in order to do that, the second word that describes is a strategy, which includes all the metrics you put in and includes the talent and the people who are going to deliver on that promise. And finally, I would say relentless execution. So we say we promise, we deliver. Ideally, we deliver a bit more than we promise, and we deliver it in a little less time than we have guided for. That worked very well for us, I would say, except for 6-7 quarters of COVID, where the sector was shut down. And thanks goes to all our forefathers who created that wonderful platform, starting with Jamshedji Tata, who built in 1903 the Taj Mahal Palace and Tower, opened in Colaba, consistently acclaimed as one of the best hotels in the world. And then in the 70s and early 80s, when we got all the palaces, the Rambagh, the Lake Palace, Udaipur, later followed by Jodhpur and Falaknuma, and we have it all. And then the question is, how do you capitalize on it? And how do you align it with a changing India? India was not only about just, foreign tourist arrivals coming in at a luxury end of the market, or just the luxury traveler. As India has become an emerging strong player on the global stage, we need all customer touch points, and that's how we went on reimagining our brandscape, launching new brands, acquiring some existing ones to get today to an active portfolio of 12 brands, although we are still very happily known for the Taj, and we would like to be known for the Taj. And to just end this on a very small anecdote, I would say we were always known for the rose petal rain in the palaces, where the petals of roses would fall when the customers would come in. So we have, I think, found the right balance from roses to ROCE, which is return on capital employed. So as a sector, we have taken charge, and I think very well understood by the rest of the sector in India, and this is a sector to watch for Viksit Bharat 2047.
Couldn't have been better put.
Puneet, that transformation could not have happened by chance. It was clearly powered by a set of underlying strategic engines. Engines is very important for me when I chat with you. Let's talk about the Rolls-Royce engine analogy. You've been powering the industry's flight path. Some observers compare IHCL today to the Rolls-Royce Trent engines that power long-haul aircraft like the Airbus 380, 350, efficient, powerful, and defining the performance of the entire ecosystem. My question to you is, what are the underlying engines of IHCL's growth today? Is it the brand architecture, the asset-light strategy, the capital discipline, or the cultural transformation within the organization? You're the best person in place because you're the architect of what's happening.
Actually, you answered it yourself. So I think it's all of the above that you mentioned. But I think foundation of any service business is your brandscape. So our transition from a branded house where everything was Taj or by Taj or a bit of Taj to a house of brands, making every brand an important business in itself was the starting point. The second is obviously the right capital structure from a very highly leveraged company with a lot of debt. We went into almost net debt-free company today with very large cash reserves, which are larger than the highest amount of debt that we ever had. The third is obviously the service excellence. We have tried to put our operational excellence that we had with the Taj into other brands for those relevant customer points. The fourth, which is also very critical, is your core values. So the first three cannot be delivered if your core values are compromised. And our core values, very simply, are the same as for Taj, for all other brands, where we say Taj is defined as the trust, the T for the trust in all our stakeholders, A for the awareness of the communities we live in, work in, operate in, and joy is the J in doing whatever we do. So I think these are the core values. We can change business strategies, we can change plans, we can change capital structure, we can change capital light, asset light, capital heavy, owning asset, not owning asset, every second year. But what you can't change is your value system. So if your value system is strong, it helps you navigate through all the strategy. And then comes the last most important pillar, which is we are a people-intensive business. So whether it is our customers or it is the people serving our customers. And I think the old saying still works very well. You take care of your people, they'll take care of your customers, the customers will take care of your top line and the bottom line, and they'll keep coming back and you'll keep growing.
Absolutely. And I do remember, the tragic incident that happened, the unfortunate 26/11 attacks. And there were a number of those anecdotes where the service staff would not leave the hotel because, in the very essence of Taj, the principles that they followed, it was to serve the customer, to save them, to protect them. And that's the essence, that's the core value that you talk about Taj. How does IHCL build that when you hire these employees?
I think there is a series of programs people go through. So first is walking the talk. I think the people who are in the system have to exude those values. If they are not exuding, you can teach anything in theory, then in practice it will not work. Then we have a program which is called Taj Swagat, then we have a Tajness training, then we have those Tajness attributes of leadership, then we have the code of conduct. Our staff magazine is called Tajness. Very much this month, on the 24th of March, I don't know how many people will remember in the audience, 24th March, 4 years ago was the year of, 6 years ago, was the year of lockdown. True. When the sector was locked down, 22nd of March was the Janta curfew. So we took cue from that. the way the hospitality sector demonstrated resilience, served the frontline workers, hosted them in hotels when they were not welcome in their homes. We called it the Tajness Day, and so every 24th March we celebrate that across the world, not just in India. We celebrate it across the world. We combine it with some form of ESG Plus initiative, and let this year also be a surprise because you'll read about it in the next few days about what we are going to do. I don't want to give that story away. So every year we do that. We celebrate the families, we celebrate the people, the staff from morning till night in our properties, from starting with breakfast to lunch to high tea to dinner, cultural programs, etc. So I think it's those values, the way you live them, the way you exude them in your 365 days and 24/7, because we never shut down, right? Like any other sector, our machinery keeps working for every hour of the day, every festival of the world, and Christmas, New Year, we are always on. So I think that is the relentless demonstration of customer centricity, people centricity that helps you get through.
Absolutely, that's so good for an industry which is a 24/7 industry. But tell me, Taj, clearly under your charge, IHCL seems to have thought through as an engine of growth the capital and ownership of this industry. So let's talk about the asset-light pivot, re-engineering capital and growth. One of the boldest structural shifts has been the move from asset-light portfolio to a predominantly, from an asset-heavy portfolio to an asset-light portfolio, which has helped unlock great value. My question is, how difficult was it to change the mindset of historically asset-heavy hospitality company, and what lessons would you share about balancing ownership, management contracts, and partnerships in a market like India?
Well, Bhuvnesh, very interestingly, we did communicate on Capital Light that we'll have a balanced portfolio. We have not ever walked away from owning assets. So we still own a significant number of our assets. When we turn the clock back to 17-18, we were at maybe 70% asset heavy or capital heavy and 30% capital light. Today is the other way around, is 30% capital heavy, 70% capital light. But very important, our portfolio has grown 4x. From 150 hotels portfolio, we've gone to 600 plus. So the amount of heavy has also grown. However, under the premise which I would call own selectively, partner widely, and manage globally. So I think we took that as a mantra. We had mature brands. There was a time to leverage the brands, to go into a service-driven business so you get the best of the operating leverage from the owned and still have margin expansion through the capital light model, and that makes you more resilient for the next downturn if and when it would come. So I think the relentless execution, which I said at the outset, was the key, and it would not have happened if we did not have the proper brandscape. And doing growth by brand, by geography, by contract type is an art and science which I think we have practiced pretty well and have become a benchmark which others are following also now, definitely in the Indian subcontinent.
So Puneet, along with the financial transformation, what really stands out is the way you've done the transformation of your brand universe, if I was to say. Let's call it the reimagining of the brandscape. IHCL today arguably has one of the most strategically led brand architectures in hospitality, spanning Taj, Selections, Vivanta, Ginger, and newer collections. My question to you is, when you look at the IHCL brandscape today, what role does brand play in your long-term strategy, And how carefully do you guard against brand dilution while expanding scale?
If you have clear segmentation, then the brand dilution does not happen. As an example, we did launch Ginger, but it was never done for a variety of reasons. In a way, it should have been done because the world changed post 9/11. Then India went through the 26/11 crisis. Also, we had the global financial crisis, and we had gone international, so we were, not doing that well on the international assets. But holistically, looking at Ginger, I never used to say it before, but today we can very proudly say at the end of this year or the coming financial year, will be 250 Ginger hotels in India. Now, this positioning, scale matters. When you do a luxury hotel, like one Taj, it's not that important to have scale, but it's very important to have that luxury quotient in it, that feeling of being special and unique. But Ginger has a potential to be 1,000 hotels in the next 10, 20 years. Every district capital in India could have a Ginger. We could have 20 Gingers in the city of Delhi NCR. So that's one. Second is getting dominance in certain markets. So as we are in Delhi, as we are in Bharat Mandapam, if I try to circle the heart of Delhi from the Ambassador to the Connaught to the Taj Mahal, which is popularly known as Taj Mansingh, to the Ginger in Chanakyapuri, which was the Daman Bhavan initially, to the Taj Palace, and on the outskirts of Vivanta and Dwarka, we have a very strong dominance, especially in Lutyens Delhi. And not to forget, we added exactly 1 year ago, this month, last year, the Claridges. So if you look at the heart of Delhi, IHCL is the dominant player with all kinds of brands. As Connaught and Ambassador would feature into our collection, which is called IHCL Selections. The two Taj properties, one known for conventions and conferences and big weddings, the other one possibly the best boutique luxury offering in India today. This is Taj Mansingh. Together with Claridges, it just controls that part of the market with the biggest surprise element of having a Ginger in Chanakyapur.
True.
So I think there is always, as I said, the art and science of growth, how you grow by brand, by geographic dominance in key metros and in key markets. I mean, not many people would know, if I add homestays to our thing, we have a brand called Ama. In Goa, today we operate almost 50 plus properties. So the first luxury hotel of Goa was the Fort Aguada, which came up 51 years ago. Yeah. And today we have almost 16 or 18 hotels under various brands in operation, plus another 30 plus homestay properties. So I think that is the key. It's a dominance in key markets of India. We have iconic assets to affordable, priced, upscale, mid-scale segments, including homestays, and all done with purpose, all done with responsible growth, all done, as I said before, the A of the Taj, which is awareness of the community, keeping the community at the core of anything that we do. You know, the very famous quote of Jamshedji Tata, that community is not just another stakeholder, rather the purpose of the existence of any business.
True.
So I think that has worked over a century for us. I see no reason why it would not work for the next century for us.
Absolutely. I'm out of time. I would have wanted to speak to you for hours together, but what an insightful session. Puneet, thank you very